You went around certain areas in some local governments. You're going to tell us what areas you covered and what you noticed, particularly in terms of electronic voting, which we're now adopting, the BVAS, and the transmission of these results. Which areas did you work on, and what did you notice, and how effective BVAS was?
INEC was optimistic before this election that the BVAS will greatly improve the process, especially with respect to accrediting voters, which was always, the major issue, because this accreditation takes a whole lot of time. So, but unfortunately, I moved around the state. I started from the Anambra state capital, which is Oka. Oka is in Oka South local government area. I moved from Oka South to Anocha. Moved from Anocha to Aguata. I went to Orumba North. I went to Onitsha North and Onitsha South. I also concluded with Nnewi North. Now, one thing I observed, which was the case almost everywhere, was the failure of this BVAS, which INEC said it introduced. There were issues with capturing people's faces. There were issues with capturing people's fingerprints. There was also this issue of how slow the machine works. As a matter of fact, it took like 20 minutes to get only one person accredited.
20 minutes?
Yes, 20 minutes to get one single person in some places. And we saw that election, extend deep into Saturday night in many places, because as against the expectation that people were not going to turn out, we had massive turnout in many places. And in Amaisi, for instance, in Aguata, in Oga, for instance, which is also in Aguata, Atagolo, which is in Anocha, we had massive turnout of people. And, the fear, as a matter of fact, a whole lot of people had to leave at some point because they weren't sure it was going to work. Specifically at where they call Oru Agency, Oga Ward 1, as at 3:30 p.m., the BVAS machine had only accredited and they had voted only 3 persons. And the voting strength of that particular place is about 700, it's over 700 registered voters. So it was a major challenge all over Anambra State. Yes, INEC at some point deployed their technical team who were able to resolve the issue in some places, and the voting continues. They also extended the time from 2:30 to 4 p.m. Still, we saw the election extend deeper into the night. Some polling units had concluded at about 9, some 10, and all those other processes.
The turnout in Onitsha South was impressive because the number of people came out, but the beaver was not actually working in some areas. And also, Waliwo, the area that is called Waliwo in Onitsha South, I also complained that Saturday where the corps members left their polling unit, now trek to where they call the center, where all the people have to come and if you have an issue. So they left their polling unit, came there, and there's one woman they met. They, like 10 to 15 INEC worker surrounded the woman with the BVAS machine, and what I noticed she was doing was downloading. There's something she was using Google Chrome to download. Maybe she was the technical person trying to fix the BVAS device so that it could work properly well. But later in the day, something shocking happened. Later in the day, when election was done, they were counting the voting. I went back to that same place, and because they told me the woman was their supervisor. So when I went back to that same place, I said, I went back to a cop. I said, your supervisor don't go. I don't see her. So I think she's supposed to wait till
the end of the voting.
Like, our supervisor no come more.
What?
So Mama was wondering who. Yes, at the end of the voting. So in my mind, I was asking now who was the person using the Bimodal device. at the moment when I came, but they couldn't answer that question. So in one other local government or polling unit that I went to, that is Isiokwe polling unit that I went to, when the INEC officials, I think the people who worked for this election, maybe INEC didn't lecture them well on what to do with the BVAS device. Because I noticed some of them were using, they were using cotton with spirit to wipe the fingerprint place where the fingerprint is. They were using the chemical, the alcohol. Let me use alcohol just to spirit to wipe that face. I don't think that was supposed to be. I don't think that was supposed to be. But that was what I saw. And also, when they tried, the election couldn't, or the biomodal couldn't capture well, what they turned out to do was manual voting.
They resorted to manual voting?
Yes. That's Isiokwe polling unit.
I believe that INEC had insisted that it was going to be BVAS or nothing.
But what I saw at Isiokwe, that's what I'm calling the polling unit name. Isiokwe area, that's Ward 4 in Isiokwe. They did manual voting. They allowed some people to vote. And then later, they tried to capture them again. Those who have already voted, some of them who couldn't wait to get the capturing, they left.
Okay, let me speak with Doreen. Doreen Obianuko is also here. She covered Onitsha South. Doreen, good morning.
The Saturday election, I visited some polling units around. I went to Ward 7, Ward 2, 12. And one major challenge we noticed was that this introduction of the BVAS, it wasn't really that effective. Some of them, the INEC officials, they were experiencing difficulty in using it. And as such, that delayed it. There were some polling units that had over 2,000 registered voters, but it was more or less like a 10% thing because we had just 200 and something persons that were able to vote because of this BVAS. And I had to say one of the the problem is not from the BVAS, that the problem is from the users, like INEC officials, those persons that were that were made to operate it, that they weren't doing. So some it will capture, but they will not be able to recognize their fingerprints. I can hear you now.
Okay, do you think, in your assessment, is Nigeria ready to use BVAS for 2023 elections?
All right. Okay, in my assessment, I would say for us to be able to use this BVAS in the coming election, we have to train the officials in the operation because some of them were core members and they found it very difficult to operate the machine. At some point, you see them struggling to use it. And then some of the voters that came around, it was as if they were the ones trying to teach them. Like, I had to come in at some point to tell them that to give them chance, that they are the ones in charge, the POs and the APOs and all of that. Looking at Nigeria now, I would say we are not 50% ready.